Alright guys, we are live, I finally got it to work. What's going on YouTube? It's Woody, and I'm setting this up. I've been trying to get this set up for a good minute now, and couldn't get it to work. So, let's get this out, let's get it shared, get it going. Let's get the questions coming. And we'll hang out here tonight as long as you guys want to. What's going on? Is that Steve Neal? Is that Steve? I see your little favorite Texas trucker. But we're going to do an Ask Woody Live tonight. And all about getting your first truck. Anything you want to ask. What do you guys want to know about getting your first truck? And I can start it off by saying you're going to need some money. You're going to need a whole lot of money. So, if you guys hit the share button, I appreciate it. And we'll get this out there and get all your guys' questions answered today. So, what's going on, Chris? What's going on? So, what's going on, Victor? I'm just chilling here, wearing my sunglasses at night. I moved over to the Loves instead of the Flying J tonight because I got an Arby's here. I've been so sick of Denny's. I'm so sick of Denny's, man. So today, you know, I'll wait for the audience to build up a little bit. I'll chat with you guys for a minute. But I've been sitting at the shop today and just waiting and waiting and waiting. And they still had some missing parts for the trailer, so hopefully, maybe, who knows, maybe the trailer will be done tomorrow. They got the front axle on the trailer done. Almost. They got the right side done, and then he was putting the axle seal on, or the hub cover on the front axle. He was putting that on. They got the one airline run and all that, and he was going to finish that up before he left tonight. But today, we're going to be talking about getting your first truck. I want to see you guys, especially the new guys that are planning on being owner-operators. I want you guys to know I'm here to answer your guys' questions about this stuff. Obviously, I know a little bit about it. I have my own truck now that's paid off, and I have my own trailer. So, and I'll just give you guys my advice, what I would do if I was in your situation. You can go ahead and comment what your current situation is, and you know, I'll give you my opinion on what I would do if I was in your shoes. So, what a loser. How are you going to be 2 hours from the house and not go home? It's none of your damn business. But anyway, you have several options. It depends on your personal situation, and the question that is being asked is, do I buy one from a dealer or do I go to a truck company? How do I begin? So first off, you're going to want to have a pretty good stack of money. You know, anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 for a down payment on a truck. Or, you know, you can do a lease purchase as well. Now, you know, the thing about lease purchases is there's a lot of terms, and some of them are shady, some of them aren't. And my advice to you, if you want to do a lease purchase, is get yourself an attorney or somebody who can read the contract over with you. Make sure you're not getting screwed. Okay, you've been a company driver for 1 year and you want your own truck. Well, if you've only been driving for 1 year, you know, there's probably a lot you don't know yet, and it could actually be, you know, you could end up going out of business. I'm not saying that you don't know what you're doing, but you don't know what you're doing. So, first of all, you have to decide, is being an owner-operator really for me? I've done several videos on discussing that, whether or not, you know, you're ready to become an owner-operator. So, yeah, you're gonna hear don't do a lease purchase a lot. I'll even tell you not to do a lease purchase if you want to avoid a lot of headaches. So the ultimate plan, which is what I should have done myself, is I should have just sucked it up and been a company driver for several years, got my experience in, and went ahead and saved up as much money as possible, and then go into purchasing a truck. You know, that, you know, it's just lease purchase is targeted towards low-income people and people that are just getting started in the industry as company drivers and students. And these lease purchases are always coming after people that don't know enough about the industry to really make an informed decision on whether it's a good deal or not. So hopefully I'm coming through good, but I'm seeing your guys' comments and everything. But anyways, there's a lot to it that the new driver just doesn't understand, and you're gonna get screwed over more times than not if you try to go do a lease purchase. Now, there are several lease purchases out here that are good, but yeah, you gotta, you know, Chris is right as well. You want to build that commercial credit up, your business credit. So, you know, you have to have an LLC to do that, and a DUNS number, and you know, you have to fix your personal credit. I mean, that the amount of time that you spend as a company driver depends on how much money you're able to save each year. If you can really cut your expenses down at home and on the road, then, you know, you should be able to save at least $10,000 a year. If you're making anywhere from $40,000 to $60,000, hopefully you're up closer towards $60,000. Your first year you might make $35,000 to $40,000, you know, because you have to pay to be trained, or the company that's training you just doesn't pay as much. But once you get your CDL, once you have 1 year of experience at a starter company, then you can start looking at companies that pay for that experience. And you've got to have safe driving, no wrecks, nothing crazy. And then you can start looking for companies that pay more, upwards of 50 cents per mile. You know, and if you drive for a company for 3 or 4 years, getting 50 cents per mile, you should have no problem saving up, you know, a good pile of money to put towards a down payment and start building your credit. I would stay away from internationals unless it has the newer Cummins motor in it, but Freightliner is more than likely going to be the better truck of choice for your first truck, because it has serviceability. Pretty much damn near everywhere in the country you can get a Freightliner serviced. Parts are more available. There's more mechanics that can work on a Freightliner, and you know, all that kind of stuff. So there's a whole list of reasons why I would choose a Freightliner for your first truck over like an International or a Peterbilt or a Kenworth or something like that. It's not that the Internationals are necessarily bad. It's just there's less service points for them. What does an owner-op make per mile? That's a pretty broad. That's a pretty broad question as far as how much does someone make per mile. But I personally make anywhere from, you know, $2 to $3 on each load, you know, per mile. You know, it's not going to be something that's consistent. That's the thing with being an owner-op. It's never consistent. Some months you'll do great. Some months you won't do nearly as great. So there isn't really a number I can give you that's going to answer that question. Looks like we got a couple trolls in here too. But anyway, when you're picking out a truck, the biggest thing is it going to make money? Brandon asked, what's going on, Jared? Should you get your LLC before you go lease purchase? Pretty much you're going to get it right about the same time. When I started my lease is when I got my LLC. Now, getting an LLC is not a big deal. A lot of people make it seem like getting an LLC is some kind of challenge or some kind of big deal that you have to overcome. It's really simple. For $150, you can get the LLC. You can get a CPA to write it up and get it filed and all that. Now, depending on what state you live in, you have to pay a filing fee with your state. For example, for the state of Texas, I had to pay $300 to start my business. So you need a little bit of money to do that. Everything costs money when you're getting your first truck. So it's not just that, you got to buy the truck. There's a whole slew of other things you have to pay for. You got to pay for license plates. You got to pay for insurance. You got to pay for, you want to make sure you have a good maintenance fund set up for the truck. I recommend a bare minimum of $10,000 maintenance fund for the truck, or a $10,000 open line of credit that you can use to repair the truck until you start building up some cash. If you was to buy a truck, what would it be? Probably a Freightliner. Me personally, I would look at some older trucks, and now that I work for a company that I can actually bring an older truck to, my next truck probably will be an older truck that has a rebuilt motor, it's pre-emissions, and stuff like that. So, and the kind of truck you buy is going to depend on what freight you're hauling, who you're hauling it for, and what their qualifications are. Like, if you go haul for Prime, for example, if you want to bring a truck over to Prime, it's got to be 3 years old or newer. It has to be a certain weight. It has to be a certain wheelbase, and it has to have all the safety equipment that they want it to have. So those trucks are, of course, going to cost a lot more. I mean, you're talking anywhere from $120 to $150 for a truck like what they want you to have, at least. So, I messed up when I bought my first truck because I bought it from Prime, and I bought a truck that was a little more expensive than what I should have. I should have purchased something much cheaper and just ran it until it just wouldn't run anymore, and then buy something else. That's really what you should do. You should work up to the shiny new truck. Like, everybody wants to have a nice shiny truck. I get it. My truck is nice and shiny. It's got a lot of chrome on it. I've done a lot to it, and I like my truck. But at the same time, I probably could have saved myself at least $100,000 if I would have just, sucked it up and been a company driver for a while, and then just took 20 to 30 grand and bought a truck with cash, and then worked on that with that. When I tell guys, if you want to go get your own authority with your own truck and get started out and you want to jump right in, all in, you're gonna need at least $50,000 to do that. You want to have a maintenance fund of at least 10. You want to have a cash flow fund for fuel and supplies and all that kind of stuff. You want to have at least 10 grand for that, for fuel. So there's 20,000 right there, just for fuel and future maintenance. Because the truck is gonna break. Period. There's no way around that. It's gonna break down no matter what you do. So, you need at least 20 grand just for maintenance and fuel, to cash flow the fuel. Now, the company you lease onto might pay for fuel, so you might be able to scratch that other 10. But now, if you go buy a truck for cash, you're talking anywhere from 20 to 40,000, depending on what it is. Like, if you buy a really cheap truck, guess what? It's gonna be a pile of shit. You know, it's gonna be a pile of bolts and duct tape. So you have to be careful what you buy. So some of the things you want to look for is, you know, how well has the truck been maintained? Has it had the oil changes on time? What parts have been replaced? What hasn't been replaced? What needs to be replaced soon? You know, you want to get an oil sample done on the engine oil. And you can even have oil samples done on the axles and the transmission as well. But I don't worry about that quite as much. You can just kind of look at it and see, okay, is it dark black oil or is it kind of gold and brown, you know? So you know, if you guys have any other questions, feel free to chime in. But those are all things that you want to check when you're getting your first truck. You want to make sure that it's got good tires, it's got good brakes, it's got fresh oil in it. You know, the oil's been changed on a consistent schedule according to the manufacturer specifications of whatever motor is in it. If it has an emission system on the truck, you want to make sure that that's been properly maintained as well. That's the last thing in the world you want, is to go buy a used truck and then as soon as you get it out on the road, it has all kinds of emissions problems. You don't want that. So you want to make sure if you buy an emissions truck that, you know, it's been maintained properly. And there's a whole slew of things that you have to look for when it comes to the emission systems on these trucks as well. So thoughts on quality leasing versus Prime or Schneider? Honestly, I've heard a lot of good things about Schneider's lease, but I've never heard anything good about quality. Now, quality isn't the worst thing in the world, but I mean, I'll just say it like this. I think personally that quality is shit. I've never leased with them, so I don't know the full details on how their lease works. Now, I'm not going to slander them, which I kind of just did because they said the quality is shit, but so I'll contradict myself there. But me personally, I would not touch a quality lease with a 10-foot pole. I wouldn't do it. There's a lot of stuff in the fine print you got to read. Some of the quality leases are just ridiculous, like 6 to 7 years of payments, and then you have like a $60,000 balloon or $40,000 balloon payment. Like, dude, you're not making any money with that, and you're paying almost $300,000 or more for a $60,000-$70,000 truck. You know, it's just a really bad idea. Now, if you just want to lease to, like, basically rent the equipment so you can make money, that's okay. You know, I'm not sure what Chase and Andrew Jackson's doing with his lease. I'm not sure how his works. I haven't had time to watch all of his videos, but I believe he's with Interstate. I think they're a quality company, but you know, I know the Wright brother was trying to work with them as well at some time, but you know, I personally don't know anybody who's paid off a truck through quality, and I'm not sure if I know anyone who's paid off through Schneider either. Now, there's other lease programs out there like Dart. Even Blair has a lease purchase that's pretty good. You know, you just have to do your research. If you want to do a lease purchase, you really have to read every single line of that contract, and don't feel forced to sign. You're not forced to sign anything. If you don't like the way the lease contract is written, tell them, hey, I don't like this, and if they don't want to change it, then walk out. Don't get committed. Don't commit yourself to something when you know it's gonna suck. Okay, that's pretty much what I can tell you. Now, if you guys are at Prime and you want to do a lease there, I can tell you all about that. But because that's where I came from with lease purchase, and their deal wasn't that horrible. You know, it just took a lot of time, and the fact is, these big companies that do the leasing, most of them most of them, the loads don't pay enough. You know, you end up with a lot of cheap freight, and just, it's really hard to make it. It's really hard to make it when you don't have any control over how much the freight's gonna pay. It's really hard to make money. Would you ever go, Darius asked, would you ever go heavy haul? Sure. You know, if I once I get enough flatbed experience, which I don't have enough flatbed experience to do heavy haul right now. So that's why I can't really, I don't know if, I wouldn't say I'm not qualified to do it, because I could probably make it work. I mean, I'm not stupid, so, and securement is mostly common sense. So would I ever do it? Sure. Will I be doing it anytime soon? I don't know. We'll see what lands on my plate and what I want to eat and what I want to throw away. So, you know, but I'll probably do it sometime in the future if I find that the money's worth it and paying for the equipment makes sense. What's going on, John? Ain't seen you in a minute. Erlander asked, how does $2.20 per mile loaded and $1.40 per gallon at the pump sounds out in back freight? It sounds pretty good. It depends on how much deadhead you have. Like, 220 is great, you know. It's not the best in the world, but you can work with that, and that's some decent paying freight. Like, if I'm getting over $2 a mile loaded, I'm pretty happy. You know, it's not the best, but it's also not bottom of the barrel, you know. So you can make some good money with $2.20. And if you're only paying $1.40 a gallon for fuel, that's great. That's really, you're saving a lot of money on fuel. Now, like I said though, it comes down to how much deadhead you're doing each week. So if you're running 3,000 miles and 1,500 of it's deadhead, and you don't get paid for those miles, that's not good. That's not good. So you have to keep an eye on that and make sure that it makes sense on the bottom line. Let's see. We've got another question here. Jeremy asked, been looking at some used Freightliners, Columbias, some with Cats, some with Detroits. Which pre-emission engine do you prefer and would recommend? Honestly, most of the pre-emission engines are solid, you know, pretty solid. Like, you're going to be okay pretty much no matter what you go with. Like, me personally, I like Detroits. I like Caterpillars too, and the I'm assuming that the Caterpillars you're talking about is like a 3406E. That's a really good motor. I mean, if you can get a Caterpillar 3406E, that's great. Also the Cummins N14, that's a great motor, as well as the Detroit Series 60. So any one of those, and you're going to be pretty solid, you know, as long as it's been taken care of. Like I said, the oil is good. You come back, you get the oil sample, and you make sure nothing's bad on it. You know, no fuel in the oil and vice versa. No fuel in the coolant and vice versa. You know, that kind of stuff. So you want to make sure that it's been maintained. That's the biggest thing. And you know, there's some trucks out here. You know, if you look on Truck Paper and you look on Facebook, you can find a deal. You can find, I see deals on there. Like, I saw a W900. I was like, man, that's a great truck. For what I paid for this truck, I could have had that W900. I was like, man, that's a nice truck, you know. Obviously, it's not the best for fuel economy, but man, it looks sweet, right? But all right, John. Yeah, man, get your truck. But yeah, that's the thing, you know. And several people already commented. Caterpillar parts are a little pricey. Alan just brought that up. That's the thing, you know. You're paying for a name brand, and the best bang for your buck is probably going to be a Detroit Series 60. Now, they're getting a little harder to find parts for those too, but you can still get them. So if you know who to talk to. But any one of those motors I talked about, you're going to be okay. You know, just make sure you're learning as much as possible about it. You know, you want to make sure you're learning as much as possible about the mechanics of the truck that you're going to buy. And once you buy it, you better be looking for maintenance manuals, maintenance records, service manuals, and learn everything you can about how that motor works, so that you're ready and you know what to look for with anything that's going to go wrong with that truck. Let's see, I got another couple more comments here. For someone new coming into the industry, what is the best choice? Flatbed, tanker, or reefer in regards to being consistent with making money and routes? It depends on who you're hauling for, really. You know, like with Prime, for example, flatbed, you know, you run really hard in the summer and the spring. And the fall, you know, spring, summer, and fall is it. And then during the winter, it just kind of dies down, and then it comes back late February, early March. Like right now, it's pretty weak right now for flatbed. So I'm just sitting here, you know, but honestly, it's going to be what you want to do, because you're going to make money in this industry no matter what division you go to. Now, flatbed is a specialized thing, and tanker as well. And the thing about trucking is the more specialized you get, the more money you make. Obviously, but it's in according to how much work you're going to be doing. So you might make more money doing flatbed, but there's a trade-off. You got more physical work. You're out in the elements. You got a tarp, you got a strap, you got a chain, all that kind of stuff. You know, but so it's going to come down to personal preference. And, you know, but at the end of the day, I made about the same amount of money when I was on the refrigerated side. Reefer freight, I think, actually pays a little bit more right now than flatbed does. But, you know, if you're a company driver, as long as they're paying you a good rate per mile, you know, 45 to 50 cents per mile for what you're doing, then you're going to be okay. Now, as far as being an owner-operator, you really got to be committed to whatever it is you're doing. You don't want to jump from tanker to reefer to flatbed back and forth as an owner-operator. You put yourself out of business doing that. So that's why I tell guys, look, get your experience in first. Figure out exactly what it is. It's going to take you a couple years to figure out what you want to do when you want to be an owner-operator. So you want to make sure before you become an owner-operator, you have that nailed down. You have your niche nailed down, because if you don't, you're going to hate it. If you go into flatbed and then you find out, man, I hate this shit, they're going to suffer. You're going to suffer. So, now there's no lot lizards hanging around over here that I can see. You know, but there's freight. There's freight out here, man. There's always going to be freight out here, no matter what. So, you know, just pick something that you like to do and try to be the best. Try to be the best. That's all I can tell you. Let's see. You have to get your TWIC card. I paid for mine, but it's over at Prime's terminal, so I can't get it. I was supposed to go pick it up before I quit, but that never happened, so they still got my TWIC card. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get another one or not. I haven't needed it, so I might just say screw it. Yeah, there's so many different things you can do in trucking. Like, I mean, you could haul for a farm, like you could haul hay, or, you know, haul chickens. I mean, there's so much you can do, man. Trucks are used everywhere. So, you know, you could haul the hay, you could haul chickens, you could haul pigs, you could haul cows, you could haul refrigerated meats and vegetables. You could haul food grade tanker stuff. You could haul gasoline. You could haul diesel fuel. I mean, you could haul buildings, like the oversized. You could haul oversized stuff. I mean, there's so much you can do. And, you know, don't limit yourself to just dry van, though. You know, I know a lot of people that do make, you know, some decent money pulling dry van freight. but like I said, the more specialized you get, the more money you're gonna make. So if you can if you can decide, I want to do step deck, or I want to get a removable gooseneck trailer, and I want to haul oversized equipment, obviously you need some experience to do that, right? So, you know, if you think maybe sometime in the future that you want to haul oversized freight, well, then you're going to go into flatbed, right? So that's kind of like what I'm doing right now. Like, I'm pulling flatbed, I'm getting my experience in, and then, you know, later on I can move into step deck freight, hauling equipment, you know, and then eventually, once I get a couple years experience doing that, then I can start hauling some oversized step deck freight. And then you can get into lowboy and then RGN, you know. So it's a career path in a sense. So it doesn't just happen overnight. You don't just go from pulling a Schneider dry van to hauling, you know, a Caterpillar D9 moving machine, you know. It doesn't work that way. So it takes years. You see these guys hauling these oversized loads. Some of them have 20 plus years experience or more. And, you know, you're not just going to start off doing that. Unless you got some really good connections and you know somebody in your family that does it and they can give you a leg up on it, then, I mean, more power to you there. But if you're starting from scratch, you don't know anybody, it's going to be really difficult to get into something like oversized or doing some kind of special, like driving for NASCAR or something like that. You know, the guys that get those gigs have been driving a long time, so you have to do the time. You have to get your experience and get your safe driving in. Don't hit anybody. Don't hit anything. You know, don't have any accidents, man. That's the biggest key. If you want to make real money in trucking, you got to be safe. You know, and you can't get anything crazy on your record. If you do, man, you're back to square one. And if you have an accident or something, you might even be stuck at the company you're at, because if you try to go get another job, they won't hire you. I know several people in that position right now, so you got to protect your CDL. That's number one. What truck would you use for heavy haul? If I had to heavy haul, I would have to buy a Kenworth W900 with the 3 axles. It's all spec'd out for heavy haul. Probably a 390 rear, 18 speed. You know, either C15 that's been deleted, or a 3406E cat, or Cummins N14 or something like that. Just a powerhouse. You know, something really strong. You know, you would want the H-rated steers. You would want the thicker axles. You know, 25,000 pound axles and all that kind of stuff. So that's pretty much, you know, what I would get if I was doing heavy haul. I would get something like that. You know, I like Kenworths more than Peterbilts, so that's probably what I would go with, because you're making good money doing that. The fuel isn't an issue. You know, you're not going to be aerodynamic hauling oversized, period. So there isn't really much you're going to do there. So you might as well get a big ass truck that's going to actually do the job and do it easily. But I know several people doing oversized, and it's a tough gig, man. I look up to them in a sense, because you know, there's a lot of time, like, they can't drive at night. They have to run daylight hours, and in the winter time that makes it even harder to make money because the daylight hours is shorter. So there's a whole lot more to it than just grabbing a truck and go. You know, it takes years to learn how to do all that stuff. You like Uber trucking. Honestly, the whole Uber trucking thing, I don't know about it, man. It sounds cool, but I don't think it's really going to be that great. Like, basically, Uber trucking is going to be great for the shippers and for the people who are buying those products. It's going to cause a race to the bottom for freight, which means people are going to be going out of business hauling. It's going to be cheap freight. it's going to be cheap freight. Is what Uber trucking is going to be. And me personally, I don't think I want anything to do with it. I'm probably not going to be hauling it. Unless it's paying over $2 a mile, it's not going to make sense for me to haul it. Even getting 7 miles to the gallon fuel economy, it doesn't make sense to haul that shit. So, especially not flatbed. You know, anything less than $2, you're cutting into your profits, because you got to pay to replace, you know, motors and tires and all that kind of stuff. Uber is not going to be, and this is, I may be wrong, you know, but as far as I can tell, Uber is going to be cheap freight. That Otto, what is it, Otto? Is that the company that's going to be the Uber of trucking or something like that? Well, to me, it seems like it's all going to be cheap freight. It's just going to be another stab in the back to the trucking industry. And, you know, whoever ends up doing it is probably going to go out of business. That's my prediction as of right now. But hey, you guys got any other questions about getting your first truck? If you have a specific situation, feel free to chime in, and I'll tell you what I would do if I was in your shoes. So that's what this I guess podcast live feed is going to be about. If you guys have a specific situation that you're coming from and you want to know what would Woody do, feel free to chime in. Take it easy, John. Yeah, it's like Alan said, you know, some of that heavy haul stuff pays up to $8 a mile. You know, the thing is, it'll take you a week. It'll take you a week to finish the trip, you know, so you might only do 2 or 3 trips a month, but they're going to pay really well, so it's worth it. Now, but I can't remember who it was that was doing heavy haul that was on Zello. I think of his name. I don't know. It looks like our connection is weak. Alright, I think we're back. Anyway, let me know if you guys can see me and hear me, and we'll continue. Oh, man. Yeah, if you guys, I'm not getting any more questions right now, so, you know, feel free, if you guys watch this later on the replay, feel free to leave, if you come up with a question, feel free to leave a comment below this video, and I'll respond to it as quickly as I can. And let me know in the comment section as well if you have any other topics you want me to discuss, and we'll do those in future live feeds. So alright, yeah, I guess it is working now. Anyway, but yeah, that's pretty much, you know, the basics of getting your first truck. You know, you want to have money saved up, you know, at least $20,000 for the truck. You want at least $10,000 for maintenance. You want anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 to cash flow fuel, and you know, you want to learn as much about the mechanics of the truck that you're going to buy. You know, don't buy something if you don't plan on learning how the mechanics of the truck works. Then don't become an owner operator, because if you don't understand how the truck works and you take it into the shop, you're gonna get hosed. Just like I showed in my repair bill breakdown video, I told you guys, like, look, they were trying to get me upwards of $10,000 worth of stuff, right? And if you don't know the mechanics of the truck, you don't know how stuff works, you don't know if you don't know your truck, you're just going to take the mechanic's word for it, and your whole maintenance fund is going to be gone. So don't let that happen to you. You have to know what needs to be replaced when and why. And if you don't, you're going to end up spending a lot more money on repairs before it's necessary. You're trying to get your first truck. Hate trucking for companies. Yeah, I mean, I feel you there, because I drove for Prime for 5 years, paying my truck off through them, and honestly, it was a huge wake-up call to me when I finally came over here and moved to a smaller company that I'm leased onto now, and that treats me right. They get me good freight, and I just haul ass, and they don't even worry about it. So I'm much happier at a smaller company. And that's another takeaway I can give to you guys, is if you're thinking about becoming an owner operator, you got to find a mentor, right? I said that before. You got to find a mentor. And what better way to find a mentor than to go work for a smaller trucking company and start building a relationship with the owner of that small trucking company, right? So if you get on with a really small company that pays you well, the owner's going to know who you are because you're driving for him, right? So you can go to that owner of that trucking company, say, hey, how did you build your company? How did you get your trucks? How are you doing? Like, try to talk business with the owner of this small trucking company that you're working for, right? As a company driver. And that's going to give you insight as to what you should do, what truck you should buy. Maybe he'll sell you a truck. You never know what opportunities will present themselves when you start getting away from the big ass companies and go smaller. Think smaller. When you start thinking about your career in trucking, think smaller. Think a smaller company that is going to treat you like family, and try to learn from the people that are running that company what you should do if you want to get your own truck. Because more than likely, when you talk to a true entrepreneur, somebody who's running a small business, a small trucking company, they like to see people come up and be successful, right? So if you ask them, hey, how did you do it? How did you build your company? More than likely, they'll tell you, and they'll be glad to. So try to find a really good small company to go drive for while you're saving up your money, and try to talk to people, network, and figure out what it is you should do. Because what works for me might not work for you. What works for you might not work for me. You have to find your own path, and you have to figure out what it is you want to do and how you want to make your money. Darius asked, what are your future plans for the truck, and will there be more chrome? Right now, future plans for the truck is to get duals, switch from super singles to duals. I do need to get a new bumper, so I'll probably switch out to a chrome bumper sometime soon. Chrome rear bumper, and then hopefully I'm done with chrome. I mean, I have so much chrome in here as it is. It's pretty ridiculous. But probably not much more chrome, more along the lines of practical mechanical stuff for the truck, like oil bypass filtration, getting the ECM reprogrammed, possibly deleting the emissions. Stuff like that is what I'm more focused on than any more cosmetic upgrades. And Green Alumni said, I agree, smaller companies are the way to go. And KR2 asked, explain about truck and trailer insurance. Pretty much, if you're leased on anywhere, you shouldn't have to worry about the insurance that much. Now, when you start going out on your own, that's when you want to worry about your insurance. And you're going to have to shop around. And I'll tell you right now, your very first year on your own is going to be an expensive year. I mean, anywhere from $13,000 to $15,000 is what you're going to end up paying for your first year of insurance for the truck and the trailer and the cargo. It's a lot of money. Okay, so, but if you lease on somewhere, more than likely you're going to be underneath their insurance, their cargo insurance, bobtail, liability, and all that. And it's really not nearly as much money when you go underneath somebody else's authority and they provide the insurance. It's not really a big deal. It's pretty much the same as getting insurance for a car. It's just insurance, and it just costs money. So, but if you're going to be going out on your own and getting your own authority, plan on saving up an additional $10,000 to $15,000 to put down on your first year of insurance under your own authority, because a lot of the insurance companies want a huge down payment. They don't let you just go month to month on that first year. They want a down payment because you're a high risk, right? Being a new carrier, you're a high risk. So they want all that money right away. You know, they're not going to let you just slide on through only paying $1,000 a month. No, you're going to pay the 14 grand up front, you know. So that's something you have to think about. If you want to get your own authority, you better have the money for the insurance too. But getting insurance isn't that, as far as I've researched it, getting insurance isn't that difficult as long as your record is good, you don't have any crazy accidents, and the drivers that you're going to be hiring don't have any accidents. Alright, we got some more comments coming in. Good info on the price of the mechanics of the trucks. Need those books. Yep. I think you're right on the money with the small guys. I'm still hauling for farms. They have a problem hiring women. Yeah, I mean, that is still an issue in the industry, you know. As far as we have come in, you know, recent years for, you know, discrimination against women in the trucking industry, it's still here. You know, it's still considered a man's world, you know. That's just, I don't know if that'll change or not. It's not something I worry about, obviously, but you know, I personally wouldn't have a problem hiring a woman as a driver to drive for me, as long as she has the necessary skills, the knowledge, and she's safe. It's not an issue for me. As long as she can haul the freight and make money, I don't give a shit who drives the truck. That's pretty much it. But I can see that there is still some discrimination in the industry for sure. Can never have too much chrome. Why the switch from super singles to duals? I'll explain it here. So I'm going to switch to duals because I have not had super singles are great for fuel economy, for weight savings, aerodynamics, all of that. They are great. They work well. They have great traction. I never had an issue getting stuck with them, knock on wood, you know. But the main reason I'm switching to duals is because the super singles, the material is soft, the rubber is soft in them, and they chunk out. Once you get down to about 10 to 12, 30 seconds left on the super single tires, the rubber starts tearing off the tread in chunks. That's what I call chunking out. The rubber starts tearing off in chunks, and it looks ugly, and you could actually have a whole chunk of rubber come off that makes you have a DOT violation. So that's the main reason I'm switching to duals this year, is because it's just the super singles, the rubber just chucks out on you, especially running flatbed, and you run these job sites and all this stuff, and you hit that gravel and you do tight turns, it tears up the rubber on the super singles. Now with duals, as far as I've seen, and I've asked around quite a bit, nobody's really had any issues with the tires doing that. So that's my main reason for switching to duals. I'm tired of shredding these tires up, and I don't like how it looks when they do that. So what's going on, Dame? Dame asked, on some other shit, tell the truth, what happened after you turned off your camera with that lot lizard? She was long gone, man. She went off to talk to somebody else. Nothing happened with her. I sure as hell wasn't letting her in my truck. Ugh. That's nasty, man. I think she was drunk or something, too, because she was talking all slurred. And, yeah, that's no bueno, man. I feel bad for her, but at the same time, it's like, I'm not giving you my money. Which I don't really carry cash anyway, so wasn't really lying about being broke. I don't carry cash, so it's not like I had anything to give her anyway. If you blow a super single, you're done, right? You can limp on one blown drive tire. Here's the thing that, you always hear that argument. Oh, super singles, it pops, you're done. Well, technically speaking, with duals, if one of your dual tires pops, you're done. Now, guys will be an outlaw. As soon as you start driving that truck down the road with a flat tire, you're an outlaw. You're breaking the law. It's against the rules. You're not supposed to do that sort of thing. Now, obviously, you got to do what you got to do to avoid having to pay a wrecker to come out there and change it, because it's going to cost a lot more to have a tire fixed on the side of the road than it is if you can limp it into a Love's Tire Care Center or TA or something. But the thing is, but you are correct. If you blow out a super single, you're done right there. You're pulling over and you're calling a repairman to come out there with a brand new tire, possibly even a new rim, and you're talking at least $1,000-$1,500 for them to come out there to replace a super single. It's a lot of money. Now, if you just pop a dual, you've only popped one tire. It's only $500. You might end up paying $800 to have somebody come out there for a service call to replace a dual tire, versus up to $1,500 to replace a super single. So that on itself alone is a good reason to switch to duals, but it's not really cost effective to switch, but I'm doing it anyway because I'm so sick of these super singles chunking out like they do. So, it's okay. I don't like having to eat the cost, but at the same time, it makes more sense for running flatbed to have duals than it does for super singles, and that's speaking from experience. So, but yeah, if you pop a super single, you're on the side of the road and you're gonna pay. That's pretty much it. But either way, you're gonna pay. Because if you blow out a dual and you start heading down the road, and the state trooper catches you, right? Which is the worst case scenario, right? You've already blown out a tire, so you got to pay for a new tire, right? So you're heading to the truck stop with a flat tire. One of your tires is still good, so you can limp it in. And then DOT catches you. Somebody calls the cops, says, hey, there's this truck driving down the road and it's got a flat tire, there's sparks going everywhere, blah, blah, blah. Because four-wheelers will call the cops on you. I've seen it happen before. So somebody might call the cops, say, hey, this truck's driving and there's sparks flying and stuff. So if the DOT catches you, now you're in a whole nother world of trouble, right? So he's going to pull you over. He's going to do an inspection on you. You're going to fail that inspection. Then he's going to call his buddy that's a wrecker and come out to change your tire. So now you got a tire bill, you got a ticket, you got CSA points, you got points on your driver's license, and you got a bad inspection on your record. That's not worth it to me. That is not worth it to me to limp somewhere. Unless the truck stop is like a mile away, don't do it, man. It's not worth it. You're going to get busted. Somebody's going to call the cops. Somebody's going to say, hey, you're driving on a flat. Whatever. Especially nowadays, man. Everybody's got a camera phone. Everybody's got a smartphone that they can call the cops anywhere. And people don't like trucks, man. And they see this truck going 30, 40 miles an hour down the road, limping it to the truck stop. Man, they're going to call the cops on you. So I wouldn't risk it personally, depending on the situation. I have limped a super single in before that lost some tread, so, you got to do what you got to do, but have some sense too. You know, if the truck stops 40 miles away, just call the service truck, man. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. So that's my opinion on it. We've been going for an hour here, 55 minutes. I will answer the last questions that just came in. Josh just asked, hey man, weigh stations, how often can one expect to get pulled in for inspection? I mean, I don't want to jinx myself, but if your truck looks good, it's clean, your dash is cleared off, you know, everything looks good, you got your seatbelt on, you know, you're probably not going to get pulled in for inspection that frequently. But that also depends on what carrier you pull for. Like, pulling for Blair, man, I get pulled in a lot. Like, I have the pre-pass on my windshield, and I get pulled in a lot. But I don't get pulled in for inspections. I get pulled in to be weighed. Like, I get the red light, but then once I get on the scale, everything's legal, so they just give me the green light, go right back on the interstate. So, like I said, I don't want to jinx myself, but I haven't been inspected by the DOT since 2015, I think. I haven't had a full level 1 inspection since 2015, so it's been a while for me. I've had some smaller ones, paperwork inspections, logbook inspections, and you know, basic truck inspections, but I haven't had a level 1 in a while, and you know, I've been very fortunate. So everybody's gonna have a different experience when it comes to how many times you're gonna get inspected. Just make sure that everything you're doing is legit, and at least if you're running a paper logbook, at least make sure it looks legal. You know, don't do anything obviously illegal. Make sure your equipment's up to par. That's why, you know, I put my truck in the shop. Whenever it needs something done, I'm gonna put it in the shop, or I'm gonna fix it myself and make sure it's legal. You know, the biggest thing is lights. You know, headlights, turn signals, tail lights, all that, marker lights. Make sure if you got a bad light, you get it fixed. Even if you have to use a light that isn't necessarily for your truck, you know, put something on there that works, at least so you have a working light. So, with that being said, you guys stay safe out there. Appreciate you hanging out with me tonight. For those of you watching this on the replay, don't forget to hit that share button and give me a thumbs up. Check out the links in the description. Stay safe out there and try not to die.